We also have to remember that not everyone gets to drive. A third of the population is either too young or too old or not able to or shouldn't be driving for whatever reason. That third of the population still needs to get around. They still need to be able to function, to get to work, to get to school, to get to the stores. The gentleman in this picture breaking every rule in our education program handbook. Riding the wrong way, in the gutter, no helmet. They're at least visible. You can see them. They're wearing a nice white coat. But this is in Tysons Corner, Virginia, one of the most expensive pieces of real estate, one of the most important retail and commercial centers in the country, and it totally sucks for someone on a bike. And yet there's a huge service sector there that depends on people getting to work either by foot. You can see how great the walking environment is. Not one, but two goat paths in the grass where there should be a sidewalk, but there's nothing there. Bus service is horrible. So this guy's just making the best of a bad job. It's the only way they can get to Tysons Corner. I feel like we ought to be able to do better than that for fully 1/3 of the population that can't drive. So this isn't just some sort of luxury thing that we want to do as a nice thing. It's a requirement that we enable people to get around. And again, it turns out when you do this stuff, it creates jobs. The city of Baltimore got a bunch of stimulus money to do a variety of transportation projects in Baltimore, and putting in bike lanes and putting in sidewalks and pedestrian improvements was much more effective in creating jobs per dollar spent than road resurfacing and road repairs and upgrades. So we can make our case in a lot of different ways. All of those numbers are on our side, and sometimes you just can't put a dollar figure on the stuff we're talking about. This is part of my ride every day, and or most days, and no matter how bad the traffic, no matter how many breakdowns on the metro system there are, no matter how many presidential motorcades or bomb scares or congressional disasters there may be, it takes me the same amount of time every day to get home and to get into work in the mornings as any other day. It's absolutely reliable. There are not many people in Washington, D.C. who can say that about their commute. That's pretty important. That doesn't mean I'm ever on time for anything, but it means that it takes me the same amount of time every day. I know how late I'm going to be when I set off. And we do it because this stuff really does make a difference, both in terms of physical activity and improving people's quality of life and health, but also in preventing the kind of crashes and tragedies that happen when the infrastructure isn't there, when it doesn't support people getting out and riding a bike. And there are just too many stories out there of people getting killed and injured and seriously injured and being discouraged from riding because of that fear that you really can't put a price tag on. And we can put a price tag on the cost or the economic value of a life, but it's a horrible way to do your transportation planning and your community development, to have that sort of mindset. But this stuff really does make a difference. So the last 3 lessons are going to be a little more challenging for you, because I'm guessing most of you are fairly bike friendly and sort of committed to the cause and believe in this stuff. So it turns out this isn't actually all about the bike. How many of you have been to New York City in the last 2 or 3 years? It's changing dramatically for biking. This is what one of the main avenues used to look like in New York City. You can see it's pretty chaotic and a pretty crappy place to ride, even with a very generous 4-foot bike lane. You've still got double parking, cabs flying up there at high speed, delivery vehicles, double, triple parked. Not a particularly conducive place to riding a bike. A pretty horrible place to walk, pretty difficult street to cross, not great for deliveries. You can see the middle lane is the fire lane, where you have to mark out a fire lane because things are so chaotic you can't even get emergency vehicles through a 5-lane roadway. Well, just parallel to this, they're beginning to convert those same avenues into much more bike-friendly places with this kind of infrastructure. And yes, this is high density, and it's New York City, and it's a bit unusual because of that. But just bear with me on the principles of the thing. it turns out this type of design has improved the safety record for everyone on the corridor. It's much safer to walk across the street. It's safer for drivers. New York City's streets are as safe today as they have ever been because of this kind of improvement. It isn't just about making it a great place to ride a bike. It is a great place to ride a bike. When you come onto this section of the street, you sort of breathe a sigh of relief and just visibly see people relaxing because it's just a lot more comfortable, and the feeling of safety is that much greater as a cyclist. Portland bike corrals, you're doing that here. I'm not gonna belabor that. Great stories. Road diets, again, doesn't just improve things for cyclists. If you've got lots of streets like this and you turn them into streets like this, I'm sure Dan Burden showed you hundreds of pictures of things like this. The important thing being that this makes it great for cyclists, but it also makes it better for motorists. It makes it better for residents, for businesses, for pedestrians. It just works better as a street, and it also happens to work better for cyclists. And we need to make that case, and we need to not just be pleading a special interest for bikes as we argue for this stuff. A theme I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have to also avoid the temptation to be odd as cyclists. I love all these things. Well, except the one on the right, I really don't like that. But this is the image that we portray of ourselves, and most people don't see themselves doing these things. And so it's a challenge to all of us to try and make ourselves look and appear as normal as possible, so this becomes an everyday mainstream thing that people do. I went to this with the mountain bike picture. I love mountain biking. It's a great thing. We don't do enough to encourage it and make it part of the Bike Friendly Communities program. We're getting better at it, but it's a really critical piece. But this is in Whistler, British Columbia. Has anyone been there and ridden there? It's absolutely insane. I mean, I'm told it's great fun, but you see people in practically full body armor, full face motorcycle helmets, going up on the ski lifts in droves and just careening down the hill at the most alarming rate. It's incredible to see, but the demographic is amazing. It's totally unlike your average bike club here in the U.S. This stuff is all great, but it's our imagery needs to choose as our design vehicle this dude, not the mountain biker. These are the people we need to entice back onto the bike somehow, and it isn't by making it look like a really dangerous sport or activity. It's by making it really easy, really accessible, really comfortable, really pleasant, a really enjoyable experience.